Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by 3 Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for coffee and conversation. Linda Sasser earned her Ph.D. from the University of Colorado, where she conducted her dissertation research on memory. As a professor of both the undergraduate and graduate faculty of Wheaton College and Judson University, she taught educational and cognitive psychology, among other courses. For her sabbatical research, Dr. Sasser conducted a national survey on brain health. As a national speaker, Dr. Sasser presents on topics including brain fitness, maximizing memory and productivity, using memory to write memoir, enhancing emotional intelligence, and optimizing sleep for better brain health. B, brain enrichment. Her curriculum to help people learn about brain health and improve their cognitive skills is being taught at numerous senior living communities and centers throughout the country. In 2019, she published her book, Brain Sense, a guide and workout to keep your mind and memory sharp. Through her business, Brain and Memory Health, Dr. Sasser exercises her passion for educating and motivating people to fully realize their brain's potential.
Well, greetings, ladies. Teresa, Danielle, how are you today?
Good.
No?
Excited.
I've been the wandering boy. I'm driving cross country. I'm in South Bend, headed for Erie today and skirting weather. I've spent a lot of time in our guest's home state. I'll introduce her in a second. I'll not introduce her. You already introduced her, Danielle, but as I welcome her, Arizona. And I had a grand time in Arizona. Beautiful. So Linda Sasser's with us. Linda,
good morning.
Welcome. It's been too long getting you here. That's your busy schedule and probably at fault on our part, but we are so happy to have you with us today. The things that you know and are very trained in and very expert in are things that we get questions all the time on. Because this is an area, this whole area of cognitive performance, memory, just how our brains work, and we worry, don't we?
Yes.
We get lots of worry, and senior moment, as much as I hate the term, it is a common term, and as people fear that some little mix up or some little lack of memory being right there at your fingertips is indicative of a straight line decline. And I think you know better than that, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. So Linda, again, welcome. We're so pleased that you could have the time with us today, and we're going to take full advantage of it. So you better roll.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, relative to those senior moments, this sounds like an absolutely amateur question, but I think we need to phrase it in a way so that everyone understands. Cognitive performance, our cognitive ability, is something we can do something about, but it's extremely important for us for a healthy longevity. I mean, that seems obvious, but I think people should hear your version of that, why you feel it's so important for our longevity.
Well, Roger, you're absolutely right. I actually began my business, Brain and Memory Health, and doing presentations and writing about this important topic because of the worried well, because of the incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's just proliferating everywhere, right? Pretty much everyone knows someone or maybe is related to someone dealing with cognitive impairment. We do tend to worry as soon as we start having a glitch, as you mentioned. You forget something, you think, oh no, is this happening to me? And cognition is critical for our ability to live independently. We have to be able to manage finances, take medications correctly, drive safely, and all of that is related to our cognitive functions. And so because some of those do decline with age, but normal aging, not necessarily impairment, it's important to be familiar with changes in cognition that are expected with normal aging, things that, when it happens to us, we can say, oh, well, that's because I'm getting older, as opposed to things that could indicate I better go see the doctor. And so that's my goal, is educating people about that, and also about strategies they can do in lifestyle behaviors they can, practice regularly to maintain brain function.
So before we move on, I'm always saying senior moment. I already said I dislike it. I think that's kind of a misnomer. I think it happens to everyone. It's just that seniors put a lot more, as you said, a lot more value or ominous value to whatever this senior moment describes. Am I fair saying that?
Yes. Usually if a young person has a memory glitch, they go, oh, I'm stressed, I'm overworked, whatever, I didn't get enough sleep. But an older adult thinks otherwise.
Excellent.
So we've heard you speak a number of times in the past, and I'm particularly fascinated with how we process information. And you've used the terms crystallized and fluid abilities. For those hearing those words for the first time, can you give our audience a little primer of what you mean by that?
Yes, and they're really not as fancy as you would think. Crystallized, as you think of a crystal, it has to do with cumulative knowledge. Things we've learned, reading comprehension, math, science, and our memories of like history, vocabulary, all those kinds of things that are kind of acquired and solidified in our brain. And those, tend to last longer. We tend to not have a decline in that so much. Fluid abilities refers to cognitive processing that involves manipulation of information, such as reacting while driving. Do I stop? Do I hit the brakes, or do I go through this light? Or processing new information to solve problems. Calculating a tip, at the restaurant, although now we have phones that do that for us. But so there's a linear decline with age in our fluid abilities. And that's, one of those has to do with sensory perception, how incoming information hits our brain and can we grab onto it right away, and our processing speed, which I'll talk about more in a minute.
Linda, as we get older, many people find that they can't recall a person's name, like maybe, for example, an actor or an author or even an object. They just can't say the word they're looking for. Is that reason for concern?
Really? Does that happen? Oh, that never happens to me.
What's your name again?
It never happens to me, Barbara.
Oh, I hear stories all the time of someone say, I was trying to introduce my best friend to a new neighbor and I couldn't think of her name, and they just panic. If this is happening, to relax, because these experiences are called TOTs in the psychological literature, but that stands for tip of the tongue, because you have that information in your brain. You just can't grab it at the time you need it. And research does tell us we're going to experience these more and more often the older we get. Yay. But they don't indicate cognitive decline. So that's why I say relax. It's just frustrating, but it's normal. And we think the change is related to the processing speed slowing down. And let me explain that. That's how quickly our brain can process information and respond, such as making a movement or providing an answer. And processing speed affects how long it takes us to store information in memory and to retrieve it. And this is an example of memory retrieval, right? You're trying to recall a name or something like that. And this, of course, impacts reaction time, which is why it's related to driving, because we have to continuously notice and process a large amount of information while quickly formulating the appropriate response. Now, some scientists think that the slowing of processing speed has to do with the myelin sheath, which is a fatty insulating substance that coats the axon, which is part of the brain cell. And it has to do with, the speed of transmission of brain signals. And so we know that with age, the myelin deteriorates. It breaks down, which of course affects processing speed. And although adults have a vocabulary as good or better than younger people, this also can affect what we call verbal fluency, which is how fast we can name things, right? So if we asked a group of 60-year-olds, for example, to name as many animals as they could in 1 minute, and we asked 20-year-olds to do the same task, which group do you think would recall more animals in that 1 minute's time?
The older group, more, if they had more time.
If they had more time, yes. But if we limit it to 1 minute.
Oh, then it's a younger group.
Yes, it is. Exactly, Danielle. Because of just how long it takes us to think of, to pull all this information from memory.
I have a quick question about the tip of the tongue, not necessarily with aging, but have you noticed does social anxiety or stress cause that too?
Thank you for bringing that up, Danielle. I really do think that's related. I think people, if they're feeling a little anxious or nervous, whether they're meeting someone or they have to think about what to say, I think that impairs their ability to think quickly and respond. Yeah, and it's true. Stress does impede memory. We feel that, partly it's due, and Roger, you can attest to this or maybe elaborate on it, but that when your brain is flooded with cortisol because of stress, it literally blocks your memory. Like, if you ever have a memory block on a test, you studied, you knew the material, and then you kind of get nervous and it's like, where did that answer go?
So Linda, this tip of the tongue concept you're saying boils down to processing speed and verbal fluency. So is there anything we can do to kind of preserve those or even boost those?
Well, one of the things that's being researched quite a bit lately is video games and related technologies, because they do offer promise in improving speed of memory and processing. And because we know about brain plasticity, Roger, you talk about this a lot, it allows us to create brain connections and increase the number of neural circuits, which improves the function of our brain. And so practice and training can maintain and improve the brain's processing speed. I found something very interesting recently. Tom Brady, we all know who he is, right? And people are amazed at his success and ability to continue being a star quarterback, right? I'm not a football person, but I think that's what he does.
He does.
Over the past few years, when you look at his age, his ability to process information quickly, they think that's a big part of his success. And rumor has it that Brady is on the forefront of using video game-like technology to enhance his working memory and his processing speed skills. Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Very interesting. And he's got the outcome to show that whatever he's doing is working.
Mm-hmm. And then there's organizations like Posit Science, and they've done research suggesting that older adults who do speed of processing training are able to double the speed at which they can accurately process visual information and improve the speed of processing auditory information. And so there's dozens of studies indicating that playing action video games can improve these skills. So maybe we all need to be like the teenagers and start playing video games.
As you know, I dealt with pilots for a long time in my career, and they're younger, but at the time we didn't have much in the way of video games. But you could see them in the cockpit there, and then in the simulator. In the simulator, they would be doing just this. They would be trying to increase their response time.
Mm-hmm.
Critically important, like survival. And I can imagine, and we're starting to see it, that those entering pilot training now, or the younger pilots, have had a history of video games, and their ability to manage the technology within the airplane is just spectacular and very, very fast. Of course, and then the airplane technology is making it easier also. So, okay, I guess I can't just criticize video games. I guess we should be using them, right? All right.
Masterpiece is driven by data and powered by content. Maximizing healthy longevity is achievable at all times with the right metrics and content, enabling informed decisions. Powered by Masterpiece can support your community in the critical areas of focus that drive healthy longevity for your residents, staff, and community. Learn more at mymasterpieceliving.com.